Hey, how's it going?
Not bad.
So today this video is going to be called The Basics of Atheism.
Hey, do you think there's a god? Probably not.
I just did a video called The Basics of Christianity where essentially, to summarize it all in one simple sentence, is this: that the basics of Christianity is believing that Jesus Christ is God. Thus, you are then a Christian, you are forgiven of all your sins, of any future sins too, and then you will have of eternal life.
Well, I've met a lot of Christians who would probably disagree with you on this point, but then again, they disagree with each other as well, so I'm willing to grant you it. However, it seems ultimately irrelevant to me and to this topic of conversation. I'm interested, if this video is about the fundamentals of atheism, then why is it 8 minutes long?
And so that is the basic tenets of Christianity. So now to go a little off-road here and talk a little bit about atheism and what atheism is, because it seems like there are a lot of atheists out there who actually don't know what it is that they truly believe.
Again, that would be irrelevant if it were true, because atheism has nothing to do with what you do believe and everything to do with what you don't believe. But I guess this comment at least makes it apparent that you are a Christian when you talk about going off-road. You're talking about something that you clearly don't understand right now.
So to just kind of very quickly to state what atheism is.
Sure thing, no problem. Atheism is the rejection of the belief in God, or any gods.
So atheism it's an ideology,
It's not an ideology.
it's a belief system
It's not a belief system.
where someone doesn't believe in God.
Doesn't believe in any God.
Someone looks at all the evidence,
What evidence?
all the claims, all the documents,
People claim lots of things.
historical documents, things like that, all the different religious texts, and they think, you know what, none of this makes sense to me.
Basically, it's just wrong.
I don't believe in God.
Any God.
I don't think God's real.
Right, well done. So somehow you managed to make that into a 1 minute and 12 video, and it's over, right? You've got nothing more to say on the subject.
In fact, I think there have been a lot of scientific claims that sort of invalidate religion altogether.
Personally, I've never had any reason for religion. I don't know if there are scientific claims that invalidate it, but there are probably scientific claims that invalidate specific gods.
Therefore, I just don't believe in God.
Right, exactly. I don't believe in God.
I don't believe they exist. But, in addition though, and this is where a lot of people kind of forget,
No, there's no additions. There's nothing that I'm forgetting.
and they sort of don't even realize
Sort of don't even realize.
what, again, this is with the basis of atheism, that in addition to this belief, there is the small chance that you could be wrong.
Okay, so yeah, okay. We as atheists are realistic enough to understand that human beings are fallible, and there is, as you put it, the perfect quote, a small chance that we could be wrong. There's a really big chance that you could be wrong, dude.
Right? We're all human. We're all humans. We're all fallible. None of us, okay, have omniscient knowledge, know all things. None of us do.
Correct. Nobody knows everything. But we weren't talking about knowledge a minute ago. We were talking about belief.
None of us do. Okay, so that isn't like something to be argued against. Okay?
Who the hell? Who's arguing against that? I mean, obviously, you fucking retard.
It's just not. It's just not something you can argue with me against.
Look how defensive he's got. Like, is this an argument that people keep bringing up? Like, well, I know everything. And there is no God. Look how mad he is.
It's just not. It's just not something you can argue with me against. So, as humans, we do not all have omniscient knowledge. What it is then is that there is this small chance, there's this very, very minute chance that what if God is real? Okay, so, alright, so.
Again, I love your phrasing. You said it yourself. It's a very, very, very minute chance. But which God? Just out of interest.
And so, within the atheism ideology, there is this encompassed within it is this understanding that, hey, I don't believe in God, but there is a small chance that God could be real. But even if He is, I want nothing to do with Him.
Incorrect. It's more like there's virtually no possible chance that there is such a thing as a God, and if there is, it's not worth my time trying to live in a way as to find this, mythical beast. It's kind of like dedicating your life to trying to find a unicorn.
That is what atheism is. That is the basics of atheism right there. And so now the reason why I make this video, and a lot of you might be thinking like, yeah, that's atheism. Why'd you make this video?
Not at all. I'm looking forward to your next video on people who don't watch sports.
The reason why is because there seems to be this misconception, and it's very common, that atheists believe that there's absolutely no possible way that God is real.
There's no possible way that your God is real. You see, this is where we get to the specifics. When you just claim it as a God, like the word itself has no connotation. It's not descriptive in any way. You're not defining anything. But when you say God is eternal, then we can say that particular God does not exist, because there's no such thing. It's impossible. It's an impossibility, and therefore cannot exist anywhere in any universe.
There's a 0% chance of God existing.
The 0% chance of your God existing. Another example is because you say he's all-powerful. So how can he be all-powerful? It's the old, can he make a mountain that he himself cannot move? It's physically impossible to have all power, like any way you want to look at it.
And when you ask them why or how they know this, they say science, as if that is a proper rebuttal, but it is not.
Okay, I didn't say science one single time. Okay, science can be used to debunk certain claims, like any claims that are made in the Bible can be scientifically tested to see if that's even possible. Things like evolution versus creation, things of that nature can be tested by science, but in order to debunk your God, all you really need is logic.
It is lunacy to believe that science totally invalidates the existence of God and has disproven it.
It depends which God you're talking about. Science can debunk specific claims against specific details of certain people's version or interpretation of a God. For example, the idea of evolution kind of debunks the idea of creation. So if your God is the creator of life and he did it in 7 days and put everything in a Garden of Eden, for example, yeah, science has a pretty good stance against that. But you don't need science to debunk God. You just need a logical working brain. You just need a description of the God and an idea of how the world works, right? For example, nothing can be all-powerful. It's an impossibility. The idea of infinity is so ludicrous. The idea of anything living outside of time itself, like life outside of time, is completely impossible. It's irrational to even believe it.
There are, it isn't a proper rebuttal, basically, for the existence of God. To make a claim that, okay, there is an impossible, like for me to say that there couldn't be some world of Jigglypuffs out there somewhere in the universe is a bit presumptuous.
No, it's really not, because we created a Jigglypuff, therefore we defined it. We gave it a definition. For a start, a Jigglypuff is a fucking cartoon character, okay? So by definition, we can say that cartoon characters are not living animals. Therefore, there can never be a world of Jigglypuffs anywhere in any universe. It's very easy to come to that conclusion. It's literally impossible. If you came across a planet of things that looked identical to Jigglypuffs, they're not fucking Jigglypuffs because they're living animals. They need to be given an actual name. They'd probably be called Jigglytuffs in, you know, dedicating like a shout out to fucking Pokemon, but we can't use Jigglypuff because that's a copyrighted term used by a fucking company, you retard.
It is. It's a bit presumptuous. It assumes a lot.
It literally doesn't assume anything at all except what we have defined the word Jigglypuff to mean.
Assuming does make an ass out of you and me. So who knows? There could be some pink planet out there with pink Jigglypuffs all floating around.
That literally can't happen. Ever. There is no planet anywhere in the universe that has a single Jigglypuff on it. I promise you. I guarantee you.
And there could be in the vastness of our universe with how massive our universe is.
Regardless how massive the universe is, we have defined what a Jigglypuff is. It's a definition that cannot just be altered. We can't just come across a random creature and say, oh, well, that looks exactly like the cartoon Jigglypuff, therefore it is a Jigglypuff. No, that's not the way the fucking world works, you mental case. We come across a new living animal, someone might laughingly say, oh, that looks like a Jigglypuff, but kind of in real life, and then they'll give it a fucking name.
So there could be a planet with Jigglypuffs on.
There can never be a planet with fucking Jigglypuffs on it, ever.
I mean, the likelihood of it seems kind of slim, right?
Zero. The likelihood is fucking zero.
But for me to say that it is absolutely impossible for a planet to exist out there in the universe where aliens like Jigglypuff could exist.
Well, now you've just completely flipped the argument to aliens like Jigglypuffs. So, am I saying that there could be a being like your god? Some kind of alien creator race that came down and created Earth? I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying your god doesn't exist the way that you have defined him, the way that you would describe him. It's an impossibility. It couldn't exist anywhere in any universe. You say he lives outside the universe. There's no such thing as a life outside of time. That's literally fucking retarded.
For me to say that, it sounds a bit farce.
Now I understand how he made the video so long. He just repeats himself over and over and over.
Because it is. So again, the basics of atheism, in case you are an atheist and you don't actually know what the basics of atheism are, it is the understanding that, hey, I don't believe in any type of religion because I feel like religion is bogus.
You're an idiot. Atheism is literally the lack of a belief in any god or gods. There are plenty of atheists who are religious. Hashtag Buddhists for a fucking start. Not all. Hashtag not all.
But even if God is real, I want nothing to do with God.
There is probably no God, but even if there is a God, it would be a waste of time looking for said God, because if said God was actually as powerful as people claim, it could make itself known to me in a split second.
And so there's this sort of separation. There's a sort of separation from man.
Why is there a separation from man? That makes no sense. What the fuck are you talking about?
There's a sort of separation from man, from God.
Which God?
From not wanting any communion with God.
There's a separation from not wanting any communion with God. Okay.
Which, now, ironically, the reason why Jesus came to earth was so that he could commune with man.
By all accounts, Jesus communed with a lot of men, and one or two women.
So he could have a connection with mankind.
Okay, so there's a lot of ways I could take this. Some people believe that this Jesus character is the same as the God character, in which case, obviously, he wouldn't have needed to make the connection with mankind because he would have already had any connection he could will into existence, right? But then there's the other people who might say that Jesus is the Son of God, and he wanted his connection with mankind, which was separate from God's, or something along those lines. And to those people, you know, I don't really care, but obviously they are that connection, yeah? at the end of the day, there's atheists who would say that none of this happened, none of these characters actually existed, and they're all myths and legends that have twisted and evolved over time. Probably.
So that he could have a relationship, that he could build bonds with us.
You could probably say the same thing about David Bowie at this stage.
So that us humans, by association with God, can have purpose in our vast universe.
Now, see, there I thought he was going to say purpose in our lives for a minute then. And obviously, I'd been on board with that up to the point that I already have purpose in my life. And so do most other atheists. We don't need a God for that. And neither do Christians, really. This is the reason that, we try to wake people up from this conditioning, to try show you that actually the strength is within you. It's you who is giving your life purpose, not this God. It's part of the community. It's wanting to help our species to survive and to thrive. These things make you feel good, and that's why you do it. It's got nothing to do with your imaginary friend. But he didn't. He said to give us purpose in this universe, which isn't really going to happen, is it? I mean, maybe if the race outlives the sun, for example, if we manage to make some kind of spacecraft that, like huge spacecraft that can take us across, to different galaxies, possibly, or at least other parts of our own galaxy. No, it'd definitely have to take us to other galaxies to outlive the sun, wouldn't it? At that stage, maybe we might be able to colonize parts of the universe and become somewhat of, as a collective, some kind of force within the universe. But we're definitely not going to live to see that, and neither are generations to come. This is not something that's going to happen anytime soon. And it intrigues me that his fairy tale has allowed him this grandiose, like, egomaniacal belief that he somehow has purpose, not just on the planet, but in the entire universe. The universe cares about this man's life, this man's existence. I find that very hard to believe.
Otherwise, I mean, really, we are just molecules in this vast cosmos.
Isn't that just incredibly poetic and beautiful? We're just molecules in a vast cosmos. And look around at the beauty of your life and think about how small and insignificant that is to the all-encompassing time itself. Think about our tiny speck and how much wonder and excitement and intrigue there is in that tiny speck. And just think how small that is compared to everything that exists. It really is beautiful. It's a wonderful experience being alive. I'm so glad that we get to appreciate it. I mean, evolution has done us wonders, and we couldn't possibly exist in any other time, could we? There's people that say, we're lucky to be born now, kind of thing, but people with our minds could not have existed before now. And obviously people with our minds are going to exist at this point in time. That's the way it's happened, right? So, you're never going to get a dinosaur looking up at the wonder of the stars or anything like that. So don't count yourself lucky so much as destined to exist in this moment and to be able to appreciate it. Destined by nature. That's just the way it's gone. And you've just got to accept reality, people. We're here. Enjoy it.
And called reality. And really, I mean, and that gives us purpose.
What gives me purpose is knowing that it's all going to end for me, and that other people will come after me, and life will be carried on the shoulders of the people who came before it. So I want my experiences and the ripple that I create to be a positive one. I want to be able to pass on any knowledge that I've accumulated in a loving way. Obviously, I want the things that I create in my life to outlive me so that other people can enjoy them. I want to plant a tree. Why have I never planted a tree? I'm going to go plant a tree. Not yet. I'm doing this video.
By Jesus wanting to engage in a relationship with us, with Jesus wanting to have communion with people, that gives us purpose.
I'm sorry, I've totally lost your train of thought. How exactly in the fuck does Jesus give your life purpose? Just wanting to talk to him. That's the entire purpose of your life. Okay.
Beyond what we see. And it gives us a promise of life after death. So,
and there it is. You're scared of death. I'm not scared of death, and I get kind of pissed off when people say things like everybody's scared of death. I've lived in such a way that if I die tomorrow, I die with no regrets. There's things that I want to do, obviously, but I've done everything in my ability, up to this point. So any opportunities I've had, I've just grabbed them with both hands. You want to go traveling? Hell yeah. You want to move to the other side of the country? Let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, I just do these things because I know that I only have one shot at existence. And I was with a bird one time. She said something about, obviously something has to happen after you die because otherwise it's pointless. And I said to her, do you mind awfully if nothing happens to me? Is that a choice? When I get beyond the grave, am I allowed to choose nothing? Because I'd kind of like it to be over at some point, This roller coaster of a ride, there's been a lot of ups, there's been a lot of exciting times and moments of pure happiness, but obviously in between those, there's moments of depression, there's down times, there's people lost, there's things that went undone or unsaid or unheard. And, I kind of, yeah, part of me really can't wait for this roller coaster to just end, So I don't have to deal with it anymore. I don't mean that in a suicidal kind of way. I just mean like the thing that drives me to enjoy my life as much as I do, to do everything that I possibly can, is the knowledge that I only get one shot at every moment, I'm not going to be here again. And eventually, I'm not going to be able to do anything anymore. It's going to be gone, just like before it began. I don't understand. What do they think? Like, how many souls are there in this heavenly place or this hellish place, whatever, this afterlife? How many souls are there? And like, do the same ones get recycled? Do these people believe in reincarnation? Because, well, that's baffling because the population keeps growing. But it at least makes a certain, a little bit more room up there, or down there, or in there, or out there, wherever the fuck it is. Anyway, get back to this guy.
that right there, just because something seems too good to be true doesn't necessarily make it true. That is why, ultimately it ultimately comes down to the decision of every person, every individual person, whether or not they're going to believe in a religion like Christianity.
I'm aware that I ramble from time to time, but that was just a ramble, wasn't it? Like, is he making this video to work it out himself in his head? Is he sat there like, okay, yeah, so there are people who are atheists and they believe this, and I guess at the end of the day they've got their reasons, but I mean, that's just a fucking ramble, dude. Why have you uploaded this?
Or believe in an ideology like atheism, but please, please, please do not make assumptions that God absolutely could not exist.
The Christian God absolutely could not exist. It's been thoroughly debunked, the very concept of it.
At least own up to your beliefs. At least admit what it is that you do believe in.
This, of course, is another contentious point between a lot of outspoken atheists. There are some out there who will say adamantly, I do not believe anything. And they're absolutely well in their rights to do that. But in doing so, they also admit that they don't know anything, and that puts them in a bit of a bind when it comes to taking part in conversations, because Christians won't listen to people who are honest. There are others who will happily admit that we do believe in things. I believe scientists. When they tell me that they have evidence for the Big Bounce theory, I don't have to see all the evidence. I don't have to see all the mathematics and everything. I can look at an overview, understand the concept, and say, yes, if if the majority of science is accepting that this is probably the way that it happened, therefore there's no reason for me to doubt that. And I can believe other things like KFC chicken won't kill me and isn't full of drugs, even though they refuse to tell me what the actual ingredients are. I don't know if anybody knows what the ingredients are in KFC, but yet we eat it. Atheists are not a group, okay? We're not a herd mentality or a collective or an ideology. It is a label given to those of us who just do not have any belief in any kind of higher power. And by that, I don't include aliens, because there could be more advanced intelligent life out there that has evolved, but we don't have any need for any kind of first cause creator godlike being. It just, even if the idea of that existed in some way, it would be so far removed from my actual life. It would be so totally meaningless to my existence that I would dedicate not a second thought to it if it weren't for you people trying to change laws and ruin people's lives and not keeping yourselves to yourselves, basically. I'll ask you a question. Have you ever heard of the Toltec religion? No? That's because they keep themselves to themselves and they shut the fuck up. They can believe what the fuck they want.
If you claim to be an atheist, because being an atheist does not mean that you know that you have omniscient knowledge and that you know for absolute certainty that God does not exist. That is not atheism. I'm sorry, that's insanity.
In my opinion, insanity would be the idea of spending your entire life dedicated to a being that you yourself just admitted there is only a very, very, very small chance of it existing. Dedicating your whole life to following rules that you don't even understand, that don't make any sense. Dedicating your entire life to worshipping something and giving money to it, even though you know that there is doubt for its existence. Why would God need your money? Why would God need a church? Why would God need religion? If God could truly just beam his will into the hearts and minds of men, why is there not a utopia on earth right now? Oh, it's because of free will. Yeah, you've got your excuses, all right, mate. Well, it's my free will to think that everything you believe is bullshit. And it's my free will to tell you that due to logic and definitional terms, your God cannot exist. It has been defined illogically. It's like trying to find a married bachelor. We have literally defined it to never be able to exist. And I'm really sorry to break it to you, mate, but just do 5 minutes thinking about it. Write down a list of the description of your God and send it to me. And I'll show you where it falls flat, where it could not possibly exist in any part of the universe. It could never exist. Now, there are other gods, of course, that could exist, but those are the ones that have no effect on my life whatsoever and therefore aren't worth my time. And about this point, I'm feeling like you're probably not worth my time either.
And if you do truly believe that, you need to seek mental help.
If you believe in God, I would say you really need to seek mental help. But that's just my opinion. I'm not gonna tell you how to live your life. You go be crazy, mate. Enjoy it.
Because you're fucking insane.